Do's and don'ts of posting to social media with Hillary Johns, trial lawyer. That is our topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent. Hey everyone, welcome back to LMI Podcast, Lawyers Mediators International, where we talk about law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. And today I have Hillary Johns, trial lawyer who is based in California, but who has multiple offices around the country, who's here to talk to us about social media law, so to speak, entertainment law broadly. And so, Hillary, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm so glad to see you again.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much. You're not a stranger to the podcast. You've actually already been on before. I'll share my screen just so I can show a little bit about your business. First off, you are a trial lawyer. You are reputable, well known. You're based in California, but you have offices in New York. You're licensed in DC. You're licensed in Montana. So you're everywhere. And a few months back, I was with you in Burbank, right? We were near some of the major studios where we were talking about entertainment law. So that was a good conversation to have with you. So thank you so much for educating the audience. And folks who want to connect with you or learn more can, of course, go to your website. And that is hillarytriallawyers.com. And so just wanted to have you back, just to now pivot a little bit to social media as a topic. Of course, we're all on social media, right? This video we're doing right now is going to be posted to YouTube, which has become its own social media platform. But Hillary, before I get into some questions about social media, can you just share a little bit about yourself, just so people can know you a little bit better?
Well, as you know, I'm a trial lawyer. We do work on both coasts. So
Yep.
we were primarily California based, but we've expanded pretty extensively into New York. So I think it's fair to say that my second home was always New York anyways, but
Yeah.
now it's become that. We handle the big three in entertainment law, so business, employment law, and the real estate aspect of it. We also do handle a lot of intellectual property. We take on big law. We represent big names and those kinds of things. So uh, we do a lot here, but social media comes up a lot,
Hmm.
which is what we're talking about today. And I think there's a lot of issues there that people need to learn about.
Yep. So let's start. So, what are some of the biggest legal mistakes you see people in the entertainment industry make on social media, broadly speaking?
I think reacting emotionally, and I'm not saying it's good to have emotions. I mean, actors have, and people in the entertainment, actors in particular, but people in the entertainment industry have a very unique ability that a lot of people don't have. They can harness those emotions and they can make portray a character and be extremely convincing. I mean, they give out awards for it,
Yeah.
and that's great. And they're artistic and they're creative, but in all these things, and they really understand how a character and the development, and they're really committed to their work. On the other hand, you can't just say anything you want to because you feel a certain way on a day. And how many times have we said, "Oh God, I wish I didn't say that"? How many times have we seen, now we see it in public where people say something they didn't, and they get skewered online. They get skewered at public hearings. They get skewered in advertisements. They lose their careers. I mean, there are things that you can say that are career-ending comments.
Hmm.
And if they don't realize that, or look, most people are going to go work somewhere, maybe not where you want to. A lot of
Yeah.
people will move on and work, but you're saying things and then can not only cause real damage to your reputation, your career, get taken out of context. And they can also cause lawsuits. That's a big one. Things like that.
Mhm.
People don't want to work with someone who's a liability,
Yeah.
lightning rod for trouble, as they say. And if you do these things, it's not just the legal ramifications. When you're thinking about, for example, if you're an actor and you're thinking about, and you're saying these things online, next time they do a casting, they're going to cast somebody, maybe they don't call you.
Exactly.
Maybe they call you and they say, well, we're going to call them, but there was that thing, and I don't need any of this here. All right.
Hmm.
There's someone else I liked for the role, but I'm not going to do that. This can be very problematic for you later on. And I would say that to anybody who is in public, and again, I would say also, I see very common mistakes where they want to get the other person. They want to get to they want revenge, essentially. That's really all this is. This is
Yeah.
revenge. They want to get the other person. They want to hurt them. They want to smear them, things like that. Look at the Blake Lively thing. I mean, that's
Mhm.
getting completely blown up. And there are other people who want to do this online. They say, oh, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. You might want to talk to someone that is objective and qualified before you start doing this. One, I don't think, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. For example, if you've got a problem with somebody, maybe talk to a therapist, a lawyer, what the ramifications can be.
Yeah.
I think, I do think things like going online and accusing people of criminal behavior,
Hmm.
uh, accusing people of lying, being a thief, being, doing something of poor nature or bad character can get you sued. And I see a lot of those things, or I see a lot of them going, I didn't really, they're not really thinking it through. Most actors, people in the entertainment industry have a brand. That's what they're selling. Coca-Cola is a brand.
Yeah.
People buy Coca-Cola for name recognition. They like certain actors and actresses because of the reputation and the brand they created. You need to think about things. Is this really consistent with your brand? And why are you saying it? And is it something that you might change your mind later? Are you going to look back in 20 years and look and say, oh, dear God, I wish I hadn't done that? And we all have things that we've done like that. We're going, oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't believe I did that. But, these can have real consequences to you later because when someone does a deep dive on you and they find these things, is that something you really wanted there?
Yeah, and I mean, social media is forever, right? Because internet's forever, and people put this stuff out there as if it's just going to get buried over time. I understand that a lot of times there's software that actually, like the Wayback Machine, I think that's what you call it. It basically tracks everything you post on X or on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So you might think it's gone, but
No,
yeah,
it's not.
yeah,
Even if you take it down, it's not gone. No, it's really a bad idea. What the future of the internet holds, I don't know.
hmm,
But I will tell you, you're really putting yourself in a position that is usually no bueno. And if
yeah,
you're mad or upset, it's kind of the discretion is better part of value here. Don't be doing these
yeah,
things. I would say the mistakes I see people making are the mistakes that I see everybody else making.
yeah,
The same kind of things. Don't keep posting. Okay. You're not likely to get a job because you trash someone online. I do see that as a motivation for a lot of people. I think someone's going to see their heroism and there's going to come hire them. I mean, maybe in some
mm,
instances, maybe a few groups might pick up on, but by and large, I think most people know if someone's trashing up one person like that,
they'll
they'll
do it
trash
later.
you like that,
Exactly.
And so they're going to say, okay, so it's not usually going to have the desired effect that you think it is. If you think you're above it all, or you don't have to deal with this, you're wrong.
Yep.
Okay, you're just wrong. Everybody has to deal with this. So it's not something you're going to escape. And then if we've seen in the media and in news and history, some people you never thought or never suspected would do horrible things like that have done them, and there have been real consequences.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I would really advise you to think these things through instead of getting caught up, and the internet does this.
All good tips. Awesome. So, number two, how can posting something online affect a contract or negotiation? Kind of spills over to what you
Well,
were saying.
one depends what you're posting. A lot of agreements have morals clauses. So if you're in the proverbial pissing contest online with someone because you dated them or you trashed them
Yeah.
or you're being accused, maybe it's a Me Too movement post,
Hmm.
that this happens, and you say, well, that's such and such is lying. Okay, now you've already accused someone is, it's a sensitive subject. Maybe they just don't want to do business with you anymore. They'll say, well, we're not renewing or we're cutting your salary in half. That's the end of it.
Hmm.
So, you really need to look at those. They can have excuse me, allergies. It's springtime here in LA. It can have real negative effects as to whether you're offered an agreement and have a deal at all. It can affect price. It can affect maybe some decision making or autonomy that you had within your agreement. So it can affect whether someone signs at all, whether you need to be supervised, all those things.
When you said whether they need to be supervised, is that what you said?
It did, yeah. So sometimes people will say you're applying for a job
Yeah.
and you're negotiating contract, say, yeah, yeah, but I saw your posts. We're gonna have someone working with you. Just
Yeah.
that
That's
doesn't happen.
yeah, see, social media has just made so many people just go crazy, right? This is the thing. I've never seen any phenomenon like this in, you know, human
Well,
history.
it's the anxiety too. I mean, if you ever, when I was a kid, there was such a thing as calling watching too much TV. If you watch too much TV, you
Yeah.
felt a little buzzed. I know this is a word from whom you may not understand yet, but it was literally, they called it the boob tube, and people would sit there all day. And if you're on your phones and all these things and just sort of have to respond, have to respond. I have
Yeah.
phone time, I don't answer. And I'm not, I text when I have to, but that's it. I'm not surfing my phone. I'm
Yeah.
not, unless I have to find something out of the office, I won't do it. I try to limit screen time and step away from it. I feel so much better. But I remember one time I went up to the mountains for a day last year, and it was right before the fires. And I've been too plugged in for a while. And I remember just sitting there. And usually it takes me like an hour to relax. I think it took me this time 3 or 4 hours because and I knew what it was. It was too much computer time.
Mm,
And so you have to
yeah.
really seriously think about those
Yeah.
when you,
Yeah. We don't realize just what the impact is. So speaking of that, when you are on your phone and you're constantly just scrolling up through the endless feed of content, everything's begging you to post a comment, right?
yeah, or
Everyone has an
like me here,
opinion.
yeah,
Say what?
or like this page or whatever.
Exactly, exactly. So that brings us to this question. What's your advice on dealing with negative comments or online trolls? Because everyone thinks they have to put their opinion about everything online.
I think that's not true.
Mhm,
I think there are some people who make money doing that, but
mhm.
I think I think you have to look at the big picture historically. Is that how you want to spend your life? Is that how you want to spend all of your time doing that? Because I wouldn't want to do it. And I know I don't think I think in most cases they can wait. And if they think you're posting too much, I think that they give the appearance of being a little desperate or, just really there's another problem. It's like, God, I mean, we've all seen this through. God, this person has a lot of time on their hands to be able to do this.
Yeah,
And the constant posting and the constant sort of thing. So I don't think that's true. I think it's like anything else. You don't, the immediacy usually isn't that. And do you even know this person?
exactly.
What could you do? Is it a friend of yours who just had a baby, or is it a friend of yours who just got in a car accident? One probably requires a congratulations. If they just had a baby, they probably don't want to talk to you right now. They're probably real busy in the
Mhm.
hospital, and so they would appreciate a card and things like that. If they're in an accident, well, if someone called the police or they're getting medical attention, if they are, then, that's going to be dealt with. I mean, I think people need to be realistic and get a big picture. Their life is not in a way, it's a little ridiculous, and I'm not saying social media isn't great in certain ways because
Yeah,
it is. It is. I really enjoy keeping in touch with and seeing what my friends are doing and they're on trips and thinking how they're doing. But that's no substitute for me calling them or going to when I'm in town and say, "Hey, I'm going to come to town and visit you guys." That's what makes friendships. Yeah, you don't even know a person online. They could be anything. You
yeah.
don't know what they are. You really don't. And so I would say I understand how it can be very anxiety producing with all the content that's out there.
Mhm.
But you want to take it in and wait, there's more and there's more and there's more and there's more. And then they have those apps, what are the ones that kind of reaffirm what you're doing?
Correct.
The
Echoes.
choice. Yeah.
Yep.
And then so they have these things and they keep putting more content up that you're gonna like and
It's
that
the
you're
algorithms. Yep.
yeah, and they're like sitting there just going, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This is exactly what I was thinking." This isn't a person. This is an algorithm designed to get you to buy things or view things.
Correct.
Okay, you understand? They may not get that. They're trying to get your money. They're trying to get you to buy things. Okay, that's whether they're or to view things and click things because someone there is making money. So when you're doing these things, some there is things online, but usually people go online, have another go to just saying. Try to keep that in mind, please, when you're doing these things. I think you'll be a lot happier for it. I
So
really
let's
do.
so if you have your brand and you wanna, promote it online on social media, However, whenever you post something, you have online trolls coming on and trashing, whatever it is that you've publicly posted, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram. How do you deal with that? What kind of
Well,
advice do you
there's a
give
few
people?
ways. One, for these people think they're doing that and being hidden accounts, they're not. You find out who they are.
Mm,
One, there's the basic takedowns and things like that. They're harder to do these days. Unfortunately, they don't have staff there anymore. In the olden days, you could call up and talk to a live person on Facebook.
yeah.
Facebook isn't that old. It's like 16, 17 years old, and I can
Mhm.
still say that. But there are those things. So bear in mind, you can send a cease and desist. You can file suit. There are other things you can do. You can have the accounts taken down for defamatory. A lot of these people, when they post, they don't even think, and it's
Yeah.
defamatory speech. Do
Mm,
you understand your accounts can get banned? You can get sued. The authorities can come after you in certain instances,
mhm.
depending on what you're doing. These people think there's no consequence to posting because it's faceless and anonymous or whatever. Think it isn't. Okay, there are ways to trace you.
Mm.
We've done it, and I'm not the smartest person around, but most people aren't. But I can guarantee you that the government and other people have resources to do that, and I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. What I need to do is have the right resources available, people able to do that, and things like that, and say, "Oh, that's not my counter, really. This is you. You're paying for it right here. There's this right here.
Yeah.
You got that, and there's your evidence against the person." You're not being clever or tricky or smart by doing these things. Okay,
Correct.
I would say a word to these haters, and I would say I won't say who's which client, but if you get a hater, that's sort of that you've made it, right? The really famous people have some hardcore haters. This is
Exactly.
part of the system now. Whether it'll be around forever, we don't know. It's hard when it's immediate. You have these people, but you got to block it out. If there's one that's being particularly damaging, then you deal with it. But
Mm,
you don't negotiate with terrorists either. There are people who make a living,
exactly.
extorting
Holding you
services.
hostage,
Yeah,
basically.
extorting
Right.
services and
Yep.
that's why they have these fake reviews or I'll just write a bad review because I'm mad because I didn't get what I want. Not
Right.
because I deserve it. It's that kind of thing. So there are people who make a living extorting, essentially blackmailing and extorting services,
Hmm.
and they will continue to do that. So it's bear in mind too that there may be another motive that you haven't thought of here. Maybe they want something from you. Maybe they
Yeah.
want control. Are you going to let a bully do that? Some people are just bullies.
Exactly. No, well, no, no, very much true. And online, it's a whole new world now where we're trying to deal with the ethics of this. And when does free speech blur into defamation? And some people don't have the resources or the money to go and hire a lawyer every time they want to take things down. But the bullies need to remember that there's a IP address for everything that you put online, right? Everything can be traced at the end of the day. I don't know too much about this world where how easy it is to get a warrant, for example, to trace back to the internet service provider and be able to get somebody, charged with threats online. But it can be done. We know it. We've seen it. So when it comes to you know, posting stuff. What are some common misconceptions people have about what they can and cannot legally post online?
Anything negative about a person, calling them a liar,
Hmm.
saying that they have unethical business practices is probably not a good idea. Um, it's I would also say calling that anything that says you're a criminal, anything like that, anything that says that, anything that makes comments about, violent behavior. Have that Sean Penn one where he sued another person because he said he was a wife beater, essentially,
Hmm. Hmm.
during his marriage to Madonna, and that settled out of court. But, again, there are comments that you're making, again, people online are not your trusted friend.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not. It's an unfortunate reality where people have traded meeting people in person to posting online thinking that's a life. It's not. I don't think. I understand it's part of life right now, but big picture, it's not. And again, do you want to make? I would also say I see comments about sexual assault. And
Mhm.
certainly, I've seen a lot. And again, I'm a member of the Me Too movement. I'm one of the gender equity and equity attorneys, but. One, I don't know if it's the healthiest way to address it. And you should certainly get help at medically, professionally, and lawyers if that's really what happened.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, false accusations are not okay. things like that. And it's unfortunately to some degree become a hammer for some people
Yeah.
where they will threaten it, they'll say this, and it didn't really happen. So yeah, it's like anything else. With a good movement like this, where there really has been a lot of progress,
Hmm.
there's few people who manipulate it and abuse it, and it becomes a tool to use against you. You don't do this, I'm going to write a bad review for you.
Yeah.
To trash you online. I'm going to make other people do that. The creating a fake accounts, you should absolutely not be doing that. Those people post make several posts,
Yep.
things like that. And unfortunately, some people do falsely claim sexual assault to get an advantage or to get back at someone. So I do see those.
It's
But
serious
if
stuff.
you're claiming someone sexually assaulted you in Los Angeles and there's proof that the person, for example, was in Boston or New York during that time period on those dates,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to, look there. And the other thing I don't like about it is it's like with the courts, there are people really have been a lot of people, I think more than most people realize, who have been affected by this and have been assaulted who really need the use of the courts.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help the situation. I do, saying you stole this from me, you ruined my business, you ruined my life, and again, griping online is just a bad move. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're talk to a therapist, write in your journal, there are friends, but doing that kind of thing, I think is unfortunate. But I see a lot of things like that though. Those kind of the ones I see. There again, and it's a difficult situation because of the current state of the law. And again, as you said, most people can't afford to keep suing every time that someone makes a negative comment. Most people can't afford lawyers.
Yeah.
You couldn't afford me. I know what my rate is.
Exactly.
It's not cheap. And you know what yours is. I mean, most people probably could not afford you back. And it's not chump change. And it's something you really have to think about.
Exactly. No, I'm totally with you. If one last question, if people are in different states and they think that they're protected because, oh, well, that's 5 states away, or that business I'm going to trash online, or that brand I'm going to, defame online, they're not going to do that to me. I'm out of the reach of the law, so to speak. Okay. Do you think that that is a false sense of security that they have?
I do. I think it's a completely untrue statement.
Hmm.
I think it's not the way it works. I think people can come over and sue you in any state they'd like to. And you see this a lot of this with poaching and other behaviors in other states saying, oh, well, they're 3 states away. Maybe they won't physically come over here and find you,
Yep.
but they can sue you online. They can just as easily get an attorney here and sue you. And
Correct.
once you avail yourself on the state's laws, maybe you're subject to the laws of that state.
Hmm.
Maybe that's the state or an area you want to go to. So no, I think that's entirely a false sense of security.
Yeah.
I think people are telling themselves that are either very sadly mistaken or they're deluding themselves into thinking that's true, or they've gotten bad advice or information. That I've seen that happen. I think some people really do believe, that. And or they've been misinformed or they didn't do their due diligence or whatever happened here. But the reality is, if you make a comment, you're responsible for it. And believe me, if you get sued, all those friends are going, yeah, yeah, say, good one, man, aren't going to be around to
Totally
help
true.
you when they get sued, when you
Uh,
get sued.
Absolutely.
And those are probably some of the first ones who will turn on you.
Hmm. Well, you've seen
They
it.
will.
You've seen it,
I've seen
and
it. I've seen it. You've seen it, Mac.
yeah,
You know. So, these social media friends that you have aren't your buddies.
yeah, you gotta be careful out there. And so this is why I wanted to have you on to come talk about this topic because it's a ongoing thing. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And so, Hillary Johns, what's the best way people can reach you if they were wanting to contact you? Because I have your website up.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I'm happy to see you. You're welcome to email me, Hillary, HILLARY at HillaryTrialLawyers.com. And I'm around. Let me know if you need anything. I'd love to help you and, or just advise you. Or if not, we can be a resource to refer you to someone who can.
Yes, awesome. All right, thank you so much, Hillary Johns, trial lawyer. Thank you so much for coming on the LMIpodcast.com. And folks out there, if you like this video, check out this and others on LMIpodcast.com and the YouTube channel at LMI Podcast. All right, guys, until next time.